For our third Pixel 10 Pro camera comparison, Google's new smartphone is going to be taking on the OnePlus 13. And for those of you who need a camera spec refresher, the Pixel 10 Pro has a 50 megapixel primary camera and then two 48 megapixel sensors for the ultra wide and the 5x periscope telephoto cameras on the back of the phone. And then up front, there's a 42 megapixel sensor for your selfies, which can also capture 4K video at 60 FPS, as can the cameras on the back of the phone. The setup on the OnePlus 13 is a little bit easier to remember since there are three 50 megapixel sensors here for the main, ultra wide, and the 3x periscope telephoto camera on the back. And then flipping things around to the front, there's a 32 megapixel selfie that can capture 4K video at 60 FPS, as can the rear cameras as well. And now with the specs cleared up, let's see if the OnePlus 13 can actually keep up with the new Pixel 10 Pro. For video capture, starting off with the ultra-wide cameras on these two devices. It's a little bit windy right now, so you might be able to sense some of that noise reduction there with the wind coming by. Of course, moving into that main sensor, getting in a little bit closer to your subject here. This is really different on the screens here. You do seem to get more dynamic range from the Pixel as opposed to the OnePlus. But then gonna move into those dedicated telephoto cameras, 5x on the Pixel and 3x on the OnePlus. You can definitely see how much closer you can get there with the Pixel device. Now for a look at video capture from the selfie cameras on both of these devices. 4K video, which is still kind of rare for Android devices these days, unless you get into the super premium devices like these are. But we're gonna flip things around to the main cameras on the back, just to show you how much better dynamic range is when flipping over to the main sensor as opposed to the selfie camera on the front. Now I know I promised that main sensor, but first we're going to take a look at the ultra wide. If you are going to capture video of yourself with the rear cameras, the ultra wide is always going to be the best one to frame yourself. It's going to be a little bit better than that selfie camera, but let me know what you think of the dynamic range difference between those two. And now let's switch over to that main camera. And here we go, the main sensor on the back of the phones here. Now this one, you're always gonna notice that better depth of field there. The background should be a little bit more blurry than it was before just because the sensor size is so much larger. But take a look at that dynamic range between the sky and the buildings behind me. You should be able to see some noticeable improvements here with the main camera as opposed to the ultra wide and the selfie camera on the front of the phone. capture and even photos on both of these devices. I do like that the pixel is slightly wider at 0.5x versus 0.6x on the OnePlus. As you can see, even though these are framed pretty much the same, you can see a little bit more of the building on the left-hand side and the tree on the right-hand side on the pixel. And then even with these main sensors, even though OnePlus has a decently large sensor, the dynamic range here that I'm getting out of these, at least what I'm seeing on the screen, is dramatically better on the Pixel device as opposed to the OnePlus. The yellows in the building there in the background look just a little bit washed out in comparison. And then of course, moving in to 5x on the Pixel and 3x on the OnePlus, getting in so much closer on Google's device. Ultra wide camera on the back of the phone just a minute ago, having that wider field of view is, in my opinion, a little bit better, and that applies to the selfie cameras here on both of these devices. Google's always had a slightly wider field of view than compared to a lot of the competition for its selfie cameras. That translates well for selfies, but also for videos as well. If you're capturing video of yourself and someone else in the shot, being able to frame both of you is a lot easier when using the Pixel as opposed to the OnePlus. Well, now that it's gotten dark, it's time for some low light photo and video samples from both of these devices. And here we're starting things off with the selfie camera on the front of these two. And honestly, the OnePlus really isn't faring that well here. Honestly, it probably will get a little bit better once the video is processed. But right now, from what I'm seeing on the screen, it is completely blown out on the side of my face from these big spotlights here on the side. As you can see, it is raining. You can see that a little bit better on the Pixel, but let me know what you think of the results here. for a video from the main cameras on the back of both of these devices. We're going to start things off with the ultra wide camera here, of course. This is typically the worst sensor just because it's much smaller than any of the other sensors that's on the back of the phone. But then bumping into that main sensor is always going to give you the best results out of both of these, just because the sensor is just so much larger and that lens that's paired with it is better as well. Zooming in a little bit closer, we have 5x on the Pixel and a 3x on the OnePlus. Getting in a lot closer to the subject, but as you can see here, the Pixel is doing a whole lot better, kind of toning in those highlights in the middle of the school building over there, while the OnePlus seems to have them completely blown out. Well, the things I do for you guys in order to capture these photo and video comparisons with these new devices when they come out. Right now, it just started pouring down rain. I'm getting a little harder here, but for the selfie video here, I wanted to show you a quick before and after, showing you what the selfie camera can do before flipping over to the rear cameras on the back of the phone. Let's take a look. Well, this rain just keeps on coming down. This here is the ultra wide cameras on the back of both of these. This should be a little bit better than what we were getting out of the selfie cameras, especially for the OnePlus, just because that selfie camera is just so bad in low light conditions. But the Pixel should be doing good as well. But now I'm going to flip things over to the main camera just to show you how much better that one is, even in comparison to the ultra wide. And here we go, finally with that main sensor on the back of both of these devices. If you are looking to capture video in low light conditions, don't recommend doing it in the rain like I am doing tonight, but if you use that main sensor on the back of the phone, that's just always going to give you the best results possible. But let me know which one you think is doing a better job, the OnePlus 13 or the Pixel 10 Pro. completely drenched. That's going to do it for this camera comparison between the Pixel 10 Pro and the OnePlus 13. Let me know in the comments which device you think does a better job in this comparison. And if you want to see my Pixel 10 Pro versus the iPhone 16 Pro, check out this link right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.